Today we're exploring what it's like to hate your own race. My next guest is a black man who hates his appearance so much that he is desperate to change his race. Lawrence is a 21-year-old African-American who has never been happy in his own skin.
Being born black is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, and I really think it's ruined my life. When I look at black people, I honestly see, like, ugliness. I see a wide nose, big lips. I just do not like my race. Growing up was very hard for me because I didn't really identify with the black people in my community. But then on the other hand, the white people couldn't really identify with me, so I didn't really fit in anywhere. It's almost a curse to be black and dark skinned. I think if I were white, everything would be okay. I would not hate myself and I'd feel a lot better about myself and all my problems would go away.
So Lawrence, you hate yourself?
Yes.
Do you hate other black people too?
Yes.
Why do you hate black people?
I think it's oppressing, the black race. I think the way we as a whole carry ourselves, the way we're predicted, it's a curse to be black.
It's a curse to be black?
Yes.
So I'm sitting here just cursed to damnation?
Not you. I would consider you in the other category.
I'm an other?
Yes. Like me, in a different category.
So we're different, we're others?
Yes.
You say that you're a white man trapped in a black man's body?
Yes, I often believe that.
What does that mean?
When I wake up in the morning, I hate what I see. I just feel I'm black on the outside, black on the outside, not on the inside. I often wish I was white on the outside as well as the inside. I
never heard someone say that they're a white man trapped in a black man's body. I've heard people say that there's a woman trapped inside of me, or, you know, transgender people, but I've never heard a race thing that was trapped.
Well, it's something I've been dealing with. It's what I feel, and it's a struggle day in and day out.
And what does your family think about this?
They don't understand it. My mom and dad abandoned me, so I don't really deal with them. But my grandmother, she just doesn't understand it, but she wants me to learn.
Your mom and dad abandoned you?
Yes.
And they're black? Do you have anything to do with why you don't like black people, maybe? I'm not the therapist, but ding ding, maybe?
It stems from a long history, so maybe. I'm not sure.
I want to show you a mirror, and I want you to tell me what you feel and what you see when you look at yourself in the mirror. This is what you look at every single day.
I see an ugly face, a big nose, nappy hair, just completely ugly.
Do you want to be white?
Yes.
All right. Well, Lawrence, he said he wanted to be white. So we used the miracle of makeup to grant his wish for one day so he can see if it was everything that he thought it would. I was watching that, Lawrence, and saw that when, at the very end, when you were taking that final makeup off, you started to choke up.
Yes.
Why?
Because I'll just know that I'm going back to the way things are and my normal life, misery.
And you say that white people are gods. You said that.
Yes, I look at them superior and I just can't stand to be black. I just look at them superior and they're just God to me and they're just everything. I just hate waking up every morning.
Well, we're going to talk with Lawrence a lot more about his experience as a white man, and I didn't think he looked like a white man, to be honest. I think Todd Tucker's an amazing makeup artist, but I don't think you looked white, but you felt white.
Yes.
And I'm going to talk about how you felt, because it seems like it's more here than here. We'll be right back.
I hate being black. I love myself, and I love what I look like, and I'm proud of being a black person, but I hate being black because I hate all the things that comes with being black. When black people talk about, like, all the things that we deal with, race, you know, white people always think, oh, it's just racism, or it's just, you know, the effects of slavery, or it's just this, or it's just that. Like, I don't think that you guys understand, like, it's everything. If I go to a restaurant, my server is not going to come check on me, ever. Like, I don't get good customer service, or I get seated in some dark corner somewhere every time I go out. If there's a group of white people behind me that came in after me, but there's only one table available, they're gonna get the table. That actually just happened to me just now, which is why I'm actually making this video, because I was thinking about how much I hate the way society treats me. And being an alternative black girl doesn't make that any easier. I don't know how many times I have to say this, or if I even should have to say this. I know that I have an alternative appearance. I know that I have a ton of piercings. I know that I wear makeup, and I may not wear the most, reserved outfits ever in the world. Although tonight I'm pretty reserved, but that's besides the point. I totally get it. I know what I look like. But at the same time, I just feel like what I look like should not warrant the amount of unhealthy, bad attention that I get. Like the other day, when I made that video, like putting up the posters, like the Bad Girls Club posters on Melrose, literally my manager, after we walked away, he's white, by the way, he told me, he said, I didn't realize like how many dirty looks you get. Like people are really just so angry, like just seeing you. Like every time they see you, like I see people giving you the most dirty looks from their car and pointing at you and giving you faces. And I had to tell him, like, all my friends tell me that, I'm used to it. I'm 100% used to it. Like, I'm used to it. I'm used to getting looks, and I'm used to getting dirty looks, and I'm used to getting a whole bunch of things. I've been harassed. I've been, hate crimed. Not hate crimed, but I've definitely been called racial slurs or dealt with racism just like outside on the go. At what point do you really blame people for being angry? At what point do you blame people? Like, I drive in my car, I drive alone. I make sure that I keep my car like slightly dirty so that my car doesn't look, and I have a Hyundai. I don't have a glamorous car, but I make sure that it's like not too clean and flashy because I don't want the police to pull me over. I don't even want to get a nice car in the future because I think to myself, well, if I get a nice car, the police are going to pull me over more. I can't do anything. I can't do anything. And don't even get me. Colorism is everywhere. Racism is everywhere. It's in everywhere and everything and everyone. Like, I'm tired. I'm tired. I hate it.
So what is the state of slavery's children today? How are the impacts of our past history viable? What are some of our behaviors that point to post-traumatic slave syndrome? How are vacant esteem, ever-present danger, and racist socialization expressed in ourselves, our families, and our communities in this new millennium? African Americans suffer from all the social ills that plague society at large: drug abuse, crime, moral decay, to name a few. It would be foolish to argue that every maladaptive manifestation of these ills is a result of post-traumatic slave syndrome. Still, it would serve us to well understand to what degree these and other problems of today directly relate to the slave experience of yesterday. Put another way, what adaptive behaviors have we taken on that have led to harmful habits, habits we are capable of replacing with healthier ones? Some of those things that have come to be associated with Black culture are negative, demeaning, and harmful, such as public display of verbal and physical aggression at parties or various other gatherings, eating foods high in salt and fat, and adding sugar to nearly everything. These and many other behaviors have come to be expected and acceptable. African Americans have unwittingly adapted habits and traditions that influence how we think, how we eat, how we believe about health and healthcare, how we manage interpersonal conflict, and even how we behave sexually. No cursory view of African American lifestyle would explain the state of slavery's children. The exploration of our past influence on our present forms the basis for PTSS work and research. Happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Monday. Welcome back to On the Shoulders of Giants. I am Joseph Ward, and I'm continuing my reading of Dr. Joy Degruy's book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, America's Legacy of Enduring Injury and Healing. And this is chapter 5, Slavery's Children. We are the children of slavery. And as you can see, we're covering the concepts of the results, or we're further exploring the results of post-traumatic slave syndrome. We're further exploring the results of being oppressed, of slavery, of Jim Crow, of sharecropping, of all the ills that Black people faced being in America, or Black people throughout the world under the system of white supremacy. How has being under the system of white supremacy affected the way we behave, the way we see the world? That's what we're exploring today. So this chapter is breaking down basically how slavery's children were made and the results of slavery's children. Like, it is 2023. How are the results of slavery still negatively affecting Black people worldwide, but specifically in America? How are the effects of slavery still negatively affecting us today in 2023, Monday, December 27th, 2023, how is slavery, the effects of slavery negatively impacting us, right? How did it shape us? Overall, how did it shape us? Mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically. Remember, we're talking about epigenetic memories, all these different things. Being traumatized and not being healed from the trauma. Being traumatized and being left to just survive. And then, we were not expected to survive after we were let off the plantations, but Black people found a way to not just survive, but thrive. And then, well, the rise of the KKK and the rise of other terroristic groups from white people. So what white people learned is they have to continuously keep a foot on our neck, either literally or figuratively or systematically. So yes, today, white supremacy oppression doesn't look the same as it looked 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. But the overall goal is still to maintain the system of white supremacy. So in this maintenance of the system of white supremacy, how does it continue to negatively affect Black people? So let's get into it. So this is picking up on page 144. Who are we? At one time, we have been considered chattel, and at another slaves. We have been indentured servants, and we have been sharecroppers. We have been called darkies, niggers, niggers, Negroes, colored, Black, African American, and intercoat, and nigger, and most recently African Americans. Each designation has a historical link that carries with it perceptions of ourselves and of our group. Who or what we perceive ourselves to be is influenced first by those in our immediate environment that confirm and reinforce for us their perspective. The people in our immediate environment, our family, those are the ones who affect our self-perception in the beginning, which is very important. What is the state? How healthy is the mental state, emotional state, psychological state, physical state of the people who are raising us in the primary years of our life, the people who are in our immediate environment? What is the state of health of those people who are raising us? What is the competency level? Do they care about themselves? Do they love themselves? Do they have vacant esteem? All those questions have to be asked, because if a person basically has PTSS and is raising children, what do you think will be passed down to the children, right? Invariably, our parents, families, and friends play a vital role in helping us form our image of ourselves. Perhaps even more influential are all the sights and sounds we are exposed to on a daily basis in our communities. Once again, I've always talked about it. Families and the immediate communities are the most important components in helping to raise children. The family and the community has to be intact, and it has to be strong. Two things that are in shambles for Black people in America are our families and our communities. And then look at the products that are being that we have. Look at the people that are being produced. Look at the quality of the people that we are being produced. We are complaining that the Black people of today are of less quality than Black people of yesterday. Well, how did we play into that? How do we continue to play into that? Our families and communities model for us how to be, who to trust, who to fear, how to work, and when and where to play, and who to play with. They teach us about power, who has it, and that is almost never them, and how to live, love, and survive without it. Remember, power is something we never talk about in the Black community. And we don't talk about it because we know innately that we don't have it. As influential as our families, friends, and communities are to the formation of our self-concept, often the most influential contributor to what many of us come to understand ourselves to be is our society at large, as expressed by the media barrage we are exposed to on a daily basis. Now we get into the media, how the media affects how we see ourselves. Think about that, because we're centering in on how we see ourselves, what goes into shaping how we see ourselves. We consume media 24/7, 365, especially now that we got these phones. Consuming media all the time. Social media. We're on social media now, consuming media. So how does the media that we consume actually shape our self-idea and our self-concept? The media images of African Americans are seared into the mental frying pan of its citizenry, swallowed whole, and eventually go unconsciously down the social gut of America. And what is ingested is rarely the truth. On the contrary, and more frequently, it is a carefully crafted hype designed to inflame and incite controversy, which sells newspaper and further divides America from Americans. Take the Rodney King incident and the ensuing riots as an example. What percentage of those rioting were African Americans? Most people I have asked come up with numbers as high as 90%. This is understandable based on the news coverage, because television and print media accounts largely presented it as an African American riot. In reality, more than half of those rioting were Hispanic, and the remaining were a mix of whites, Asians, and African Americans. Didn't know that. Did not know that. Didn't know that more than half of the people who were rioting. So 50% of the Rodney King riots were Hispanics, but they made it a black riot, right? Media. It is difficult, if not impossible, to get an accurate assessment of one's group if we must rely only on the information commonly available to us. Our schools, literature, and mass media give an incomplete and oftentimes intentionally misleading view of who we are as a people. It's designed to do that. Remember, the media is designed to negatively portray Black people. That's the only way you can feel good about dehumanizing Black people, because you have to see them as less than human, and the media helps others and ourselves see ourselves and others see us as less than human. Having been a victim of false statements by the media, I am ever cognizant of the role media plays and has played in stirring up fear, hatred, and bigotry, manipulating the public in order to increase ratings. Perhaps it is true that violence, controversy, and tragedy sells, but at what cost? The media provides the lens through which we view others, whether people of color, criminals, the poor, police, politicians, and terrorists. More importantly, the media is the lens through which people view themselves. Through the media, individuals with vacant esteem not only recognize their own impotence, but are also shown their group and community's lack of power and efficacy. And all of this can occur in a 30-second soundbite. And I know throughout my life, through viewing Black people through the media, athletes, rappers, entertainers, drug dealers, teachers, in the media, growing up, police officers, maybe lawyers, but corrupt police officers, corrupt lawyers, freaks, like sex freaks in the media. Now, in my household was different. In my community was different, because I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida, which is a college town. So I got a chance to see Black people in various forms of success outside of the media. But within the media, rappers, athletes, entertainers, drug dealers, pimps, pushers, prostitutes, superheroes, or I guess you could say Black exploitation superheroes, all the stereotypical things that you would see growing up about Black people until I started to get older. So it is a peculiar sensation, this double consciousness. So excuse me. So I'm going to read to you an excerpt from W.E.B. Du Bois's book, The Souls of Black Folk. It is a peculiar sensation, this double consciousness, this sense of always looking at oneself through the eyes of others, of measuring one's soul by the tape of the world that looks on in amused contempt and pity. One never feels his totalness. On American, a Negro, two souls, two thoughts, two unreconciled strivings, two warring ideals in one dark body, whose dogged strength alone keeps it from being torn asunder. The history of the American Negro is the history of this strife, this longing to attain self-consciousness, manhood, to merge his double self into a better and truer self. So W.E.B. Du Bois is talking about the double consciousness of the African American in America. Black people struggling with being black in America because we exist in a white society. And we've been conditioned to believe that we have to exhibit white characteristics and basically become white, become palatable to whiteness to be successful. So everything about you is not good enough to be successful. You must model whiteness. You must become a white person in a black person's body in order to be successful. That's what we're fighting against. That is not true. You don't have to become white. Think white, live white, eat white, talk white. You don't have to do that to be successful or become somebody. You can be your authentic black self. But the problem is we have to relearn how to be our authentic black selves, because all we know is how to be palatable to whiteness. Think of what white people believe to be the stereotypical black man, the stereotypical black woman. Think of all the things we know white people and others have been taught or socialized to believe about us. Now think about what we truly are, what our parents and communities raised us to be. In the face of the media's onslaught, those of us without the tools to defend ourselves come to fulfill the roles of dominant culture tells the roles that dominant culture tells us we must play. We can end up acting out self-degrading behaviors by which we exploit one another for material gain, distorted admiration, and an appearance of power. One of the ways that PTSS is reflected today can be seen in the reoccurrence of such stereotypical behavior. Take the role of the black male, for example. Black males were valuable to slave owners in a number of ways, the most obvious being their ability to perform arduous manual labor. Another, however, was their breeding capability. So think about today how black men are seen as laborers, as wallets, muscles, and something just to take the brunt of all the ills, right? Wallets and muscles. So the black males assured the continuance of the human products. I mean, wallets, muscles, and penises. That's what I meant to say. Black men are seen as wallets, muscles, and penises. That's it. That's all we're good for is our money, our muscle, and our penis. So the black males assured the continuance of the human products that could be sold and trained in lifelong servitude. The role of the breeder was a sought-after position on the plantation because it offered special privileges like food or special jobs and power among those slave populations. Today, this role has morphed and reemerged to become the street hustler womanizer and the more contemporary gangster pimp repeat with present-day material and social rewards. The audacious and flashy zoot suits of the 30s and 40s became the full-length furs, large brim hats, and platform shoes of the 60s and 70s. Today, we see oversized leather designer trousers and diamond stud earrings, while Hummers and Bentleys have replaced the highly priced Cadillac Eldorados and Lincoln Continentals of the past. Entertainment provides other examples. Minstrels and vaudevillians set the stage for some of the first popularized stereotypic and racist images of Black people. In the early 1900s, minstrel shows feature individuals, both white and Black in blackface, idealizing slavery life by showing Blacks in embellic and happy folks who adored their slave masters. Slaves were portrayed as people who mostly sang and danced and cheerfully ate pig entrails and watermelon to pass the time. These shows were well attended and were the first opportunity for Blacks to perform on stage. In the 1970s, a new crop of exploitative In the 1970s, a new crop of exploitative performances surfaced. The black exploitation films like Superfly, Shaft, Trick Baby, The Mac, and Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, just to name a few, depicted black men as violent, criminal, and oversexed. Black women were depicted as docile and submissive, or domineering and manipulative. In each case, women were portrayed as sex objects to be abused and controlled. Some recent examples are films like Training Day and Monsters Ball that bear a striking resemblance to the blaxploitation films of the past. They differ only in that they are far more graphic and abysmal. There have been some constructive changes since the 1970s in the film industry. However, there are still few roles for black actors where their versatility and skills as artists can be positively showcased. So I just put out a short the other day called From Jungle Bunnies to Black Excellence, depicting how black actors or black people were depicted in black cinema throughout the ages, and how the images did become better, but have gotten worse over time. So we have more control to be able to create better images, but at times we don't. If you go to Tubi and you see all the black movies is the same gangster come up type, drug dealing type movie. So yeah, we've made some progress, but we've regressed as well. But what she's getting at though, is we've gotten to the point to where these stereotypes have become so normal that we are now not only adopting the stereotypes, but defending the adoption of the stereotypes and saying we're giving them power. That's always the excuse. We're taking the negatives and turning them into positives. Okay, well, you keep doing that. And while I keep seeing you're not getting any real results from that. Okay. I'm not going to argue with nobody that want to try to turn negatives into positives. But I can see that you have no real results from turning negatives into positives. Faking esteem, one manifestation of PTSS, can be seen in popular culture and contemporary television images of wealth. People who believe themselves to have little worth, little power, little self-efficacy will often do whatever they can do to don the toppings of power, even if it means acting out the demanding role society considers appropriate for them. Others will try to deal with such lack of esteem by finding ways to neutralize their pain with strategies that will enable them to turn the weakness into a sense of control, what I just talked about, right? Elaine Penderhughes, in her book, Understanding Race, Ethnicity, and Power, The Key to Efficacy in Clinical Practice, describes one of those strategies. Inspiring fear is another way of turning powerlessness into power. A black psychiatrist made this point to a white colleague. My powerlessness as a black male in the American system often leaves me with one sure way to get a sense of power: to scare you. Since you don't respect me, then you're going to fear me. And that's what a lot of black people sit at. That's what a lot of black people land at. Black people, we really want white people to fear us. These were the words expressed to me by a young man explaining why he expected white people to be afraid to drive through his neighborhood. He went on to say, white people know that black people are left with the scraps, the remnants of a real society, and that since this scrap is all that I have, I'm going to stand on it and protect it, stating, you white people better be scared to come through here because I am a dangerous black man. With the same breath, he laughed, saying how whenever he and his friends see white people driving through the hood, with their hands tightly gripped their steering wheels in fear, trying to avoid eye contact with them, they wait until the car moves out of sight to smile, shake their heads, and laugh because they know that no one among them has the slightest intention of harming the terrified outsiders. From these black men's perspective, they were just protecting their turf. What they don't understand is that standing by their principles through this game of intimidation could, in many cases, yield harmful results for young men like themselves. But it's a facade of power. And they know it's a facade of power. So that's why they try to protect that facade at all costs. or in their minds, they believe they're protecting the facade at all costs, because as she explained, and as we all know, most likely black people not really mess with no white folk like that. Like, you got to be one of them real ones to run up on a white person, just do something, or you just out of your rocker. But for the most part, the average black person know and understand the consequences of running down on some white person, especially unprovoked, right? So, but that's also ingrained into us. That's part of the PTSS. We understand the consequences we understand the negative consequences of doing harm to white people. We understand the negative consequences of doing to white people what they've done to us, because they have the system of power to punish us, and we don't. We don't have the system of power to punish them. The truth underlining this behavior is, if we can't inspire positive qualities such as love, admiration, or respect, the idea is at least we can inspire something, and that something is fear. But we all know it's not real fear, or it's not real power behind that assumption or the facade of fear. So now we're moving forward, talking about black male and female relationships. How have PTSS affected black male and female relationships? Today, the white idea of having a working male head of household, earning a more than adequate income, and a stay-at-home mom who spends her days raising the children, baking cakes, and planting flower bulbs is rapidly becoming an unattainable luxury, even for white people. The sought-after picture, or whatever is the current picture of American success, is turning into nothing more than a facade, a pretense of societal and material advancement. African Americans have nonetheless brought into the counterfeit white image and struggle in vain to attain it. Black people want that luxurious white lifestyle so bad. I know so many black people that go out of their way to attain the trinkets that says, I've made it, I'm somebody, I'm rich, I got money, and white people like me. With the idea clearly out of reach, we eventually develop our own black facade of the white facade, playing out a pathetic attempt to arrive at what turns out to be a mere chimera. Falling short of what was never attainable, black men and women punish one another for not living up to the elaborately constructed fantasy. They then become reminders to one another of their failure. They act as mirrors that reflect back what they become to believe stands between their losing or winning, their one immovable reality, their blackness. Like the two people in the clip, they have come to believe that their blackness is the reason why they experience everything they experience. Not the society around them, the conditioning of the society, but their personal blackness. Even especially the young lady, she believes it's her personal blackness that brings the problems that she has. That's what she believes. So we have to understand that this society has been constructed to oppress us, to depress us, to suppress us, to repress us. It's been constructed to keep us at a state of a docile state, a state of survival. So it's designed for her and the young man to come out being who they are, the children of slavery. I want to turn you into some niggas so you can be unproductive and destructive. But both them, the young man and the young woman, have to get the therapy they need to change the programming that they have to have a different outlook and be able to understand that just because society decides to treat me as less than human, or just because society decides to look down on me because of the color of my skin, doesn't mean I look down on me because of the color of my skin. My oppressors are supposed to look down on me, because if they stop looking down on me, then they might end up looking up to me. Remember that. But the goal is to get them to not be able to look at us at all in any superior or inferior fashion. It is not surprising, after decades of being depicted as ineffectual and inferior, that some might begin to believe that failure is inevitable. It is this expectation of failure that stops many youth from seeking college education. It is this same expectation that can stop hardworking adults from seeking promotions and advancing their careers. I can remember being told by my high school guidance counselor that I was not college material. She was a middle-aged, embittered white woman that appeared to loathe the majority Black population at Crenshaw High School, where she had served for far too many years as a student advisor. Unlike many of my classmates, that may not have had a family history of success in higher education, I had role models that nurtured and guided me, so I was undeterred by her remarks. I was confident that I was beyond the shadow of a doubt college material, right? Because it's reinforced at home and in the community. That's one of our problems today. We don't have enough homes and we don't have communities. There were countless students like me who clearly had the ability to do well, but would often deliberately sabotage any chance they had for success by becoming chronically disruptive in class or ditching school altogether. When I pressed a friend to explain why she seemed to only act out so terribly when she was in school, she said that she didn't care at all about school, that nobody in her family went to college, and there was no way she was going to make it either. I didn't think to ask her if she actually wanted to go to college, but I can understand how hard it must have been for her to believe herself capable without any examples within her immediate environment. And right, because it never crossed my mind that I could not go to college. College was inevitable for me. College was just another step that you had to take in the process. And because I grew up in a college town and both my parents went to college and both my parents was pushing college. So in my mind, everybody went to college. Everybody could go to college. And if you couldn't go to the 4-year, you can go to the 2-year. In my mind, until I got older and realized, no, that's because the environment that I came from. Some years ago, I was a counselor in the summer program designed for African-American children and youth. The primary focus of the program was to promote educational achievement. I remember Catrice, a young middle school student about 13 years old who was a part of a career camp. When asked what careers might interest them, many of the young people replied with, "I don't know." Others, the males mostly, expressed their desires to go to the NBA, and few wanted to be teachers. When the time came for Catrice to answer the question, she stated rather casually, "I want to be an engineer." The gentleman who was leading the discussion responded with surprise and immediately asked the question, "How are you at math?" It turned out that she had not only gotten straight A's in all of her math and science classes, she had pretty much received A's in all of her classes as well. Her peers chuckled, at which point she became embarrassed. That's the beginning. Catrice expressed herself in a clear, articulate, and confident way. She was extremely impressive and I was delighted to work with her. I ultimately became very involved with Catrice and her family, eventually becoming a mentor to her. In her sophomore year, I met with her mother to discuss future college plans for Catrice. She was a devoted young woman working 2 jobs to support her 3 children. While her mother strongly desired for Catrice to attend college, she had no practical experience regarding how to assist her daughter in achieving her goal. She was a 3rd-generation teen parent, and no one in those 3 generations had ever gone to college. Few had even completed high school. So you can see the environment that she's coming from. When I spoke with Catrice about attending college and asked her what school she might be interested in, she could not imagine attending any college beyond the local community college that was within walking distance from her home. I explained that with her skills, if she kept her grades up, she could likely attend any university in the country. Still, she could not imagine living anywhere outside of her neighborhood. Early during her junior year, she began avoiding me. Her high school counselor contacted me because he had noticed that Catrice's grades were failing. After a few months, I caught up with her at a basketball game. We spoke outside for quite a while. She explained how frightening it was to think of leaving her home and neighborhood to attend a school where she didn't know anyone. She also shared that her friends teased her about being a goody good, and accused her of trying to act white. It was disturbing to me when I first heard that Black youth experienced peer pressure from one another to not achieve, and that getting good grades was equated with acting white. Now, unfortunately, such peer pressure has become commonplace, right? It was apparent to me that Catrice wanted much more than she was letting on to those around her. I was able to help her see that going to college would not mean that she would be abandoning her family and friends, nor that doing well in school meant that she was selling out. She once again became enthusiastic about the possibility of going to college. During Catrice's senior year, I was meeting with her mother to go over college applications and financial aid forms when I realized that her limited reading skills made it impossible for her to understand the materials in the application packet. I explained that the forms were difficult for everyone and that this was perhaps the most challenging aspect of getting into school. She laughed nervously, and after a short time, she began to feel more relaxed and comfortable. She shared with me how proud she was of Catrice, that she would do anything that she could to help her to be successful. I met with her nearly every day until she completed all of the paperwork. I was able to get many of the application fees waived and was finally prepared to mail all the application packages off when Catrice told me that she was pregnant and had decided she no longer wanted to go to college. Her mother was devastated, and as I spoke with her, she avoided making eye contact with me. I couldn't help feeling like I had pushed her too hard, that my intrusion had caused Catrice to seek a desperate measure to escape a future that she feared. Perhaps I inadvertently sentenced Catrice to follow the legacy of her family and some of her closest friends, of dropping out of school and devoting her life to being a mother. Catrice had a miscarriage which left her ill for quite some time. She did eventually graduate from high school with high marks, but soon thereafter became pregnant again and embroiled in the fray of urban life. We kept in touch we kept in touch though less frequently before then. A year or so later, I received a phone call from Catrice, now 19. She told me that she was moving to California with her son, that she had plans to attend a community college. She explained that she was unable to achieve any of her dreams while she remained in her neighborhood. They won't let me grow here. Whenever I reach for anything, they begin to resent me and pull me down. I love them, but I have to go, she told me. Catrice eventually completed her undergraduate education and became a math teacher. When I last heard from her, she was pursuing an advanced degree. Catrice was one of the fortunate ones who stopped believing that failure was inevitable or acceptable. Unfortunately, there are numerous Black youth that continue to believe that they are destined to fail, that success is reserved for those other than themselves, and that they lack what it takes to make it in this life. Being told you are inferior for hundreds of years can have a lasting psychic impact, impacts that get passed from parent to child, to grandchild, to great-grandchild. We know family traditions get passed down through generations. Fortunately for Catrice, she was eventually able to translate the strengths of her mother into meaningful achievement beyond raising a family. I've seen many Catrices. I went to school on the south side of Tallahassee, James S. Ricketts High School. I've seen many Catrices. I've seen many people who were afraid to be successful, and many people who literally thought being successful, being smart, achieving was being white, as she explained in the book. I say it many times now today. Black culture and Black behavior has become synonymous with failure and degradation. You are white if you're trying to become somebody other than an entertainment athlete or actor, entertainer, athlete, a musician or something like that. Anything outside of that, that's not considered cool. You consider selling out, and people don't really, support that. People don't support that. Black people don't support it. Black people support everything that is designed to keep us as slaves. Black people support everything that's designed to keep us looking down on ourselves. Everything that's designed to keep us stagnant and going backwards. The majority, or I'm not going to say the majority, but too many Black people accept those behaviors and accept those mindsets. We see it. So the goal, once again, overall, ultimately, the goal is to change our programming so we can ultimately change our conditions. We need families and communities so we can build power for ourselves. The only way we can constructively build power for ourselves is to rebuild our families and rebuild our communities. I stand on that. So, brought up to be brought down, page 171. When you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. You do not have to tell him not to stand here or go yonder. He will find his proper place and will stay in it. You do not need to send him to the back door. He will go without being told. In fact, if there is no back door, he will cut one out for his special benefit. His education makes it necessary. And that's an excerpt from Carter G. Woodson's The Miseducation of the Negro. The conditioning of the nigger mindset being placed. And bam, the automaton is set in place, and the automaton will go and destroy itself and everything around it. And you give it that nigger programming. But that was the ultimate goal. And that's what she's explaining in this chapter. This is how slavery's children were created. This is the ultimate goal. But these are the results of the ultimate goal. This is why we behave the way we behave. This is the behavior that we have. This is the lens that we view ourselves. We view ourselves as incapable. We view ourselves as unachieving beings. We view ourselves as less than. We view ourselves as second, third, fourth class citizens. We embrace being niggas, which is the goal of white supremacy. When African Americans accept the depreciating accounts and images portrayed by the media, literature, music, and the arts as a true mirror of themselves, we are actually allowing ourselves to be socialized by a racist society. Evidence of racist socialization can be readily seen when African American children limit their aspirations, seeking out careers as nurses and paralegals rather than as doctors and lawyers. It can be seen when we use the accumulation of material things as the measure of self-worth to be successful. Racist socialization is evident in our failure to support our communities economically, in believing that ice in the white man's store is somehow colder, and defying whiteness and denouncing everything that is black. Like the dude in the video said, white people are gods. The ultimate result of this association is that all is white. The ultimate result of this socialization is that all that is white becomes synonymous with power, and all that is black is equated with impotence. If it's white, it's right. If it's black, it's whack. White people are gods. Today, the legacy of slavery and oppression remains etched in our souls. The impacts of our history can be witnessed daily in our struggle to understand who and what we are, and in our jaundiced vision of who and what we can become. The impacts of our history can be witnessed in our continual fight for respect. Respect that we seek and demand from without, but that can only be built from within. And it goes back because in the book she was talking about how respect is important for black people. One of the worst things you can do to a black person is disrespect a black person. If you really want to see a black person go off, disrespect them. Things that we deem as ultra disrespectful would cause a black person to be set off. And That is another result of our conditioning. Because respect is one of the few things that we can try to attain. Can't really attain power, but we can have some respect. But the fact that we have to fight for our respect. So when you disrespect me, I'm going to fight for that. Do not disrespect me, dog. I'm going to fight for my respect. I'm going to fight for all of that because I don't have much. But that I believe I can have. And the ultimate goal is to have the respect of white supremacists. These impacts can be witnessed in the war between affirmative racial socialization in our homes and destructive racist socialization everywhere else. A war that I am sorry to say we seem to be losing. While many of us have overcome, raised healthy families, and achieved success, many of us still struggle with issues of esteem, anger, and respect. Many of us are continually working to define who and what we are in relation to each other. Not enough of us are truly at peace with ourselves and our place in the world. Not enough of us are truly happy, thriving families. And what about those who have not achieved even the outward trappings of success? Many more African Americans live toward the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder than live in the middle, and fewer still live towards the top. The great majority of us are struggling to provide for our families, keep them safe, and growing in positive directions. In this respect, we seem to be no different from what the vast majority of Americans, we seem to be no different from the vast majority of Americans. Yet we are different. The difference is that we are working to do all this under the added weight of vacant esteem, ever-present anger, and the racist socialization of legacies of our past. Whether or not we have overcome, most of us have been impacted by post-traumatic slave syndrome in one way or another. Actually, many white people have been also, but that's a topic for another book. Understanding the role our past plays in our present attitudes, outlooks, mindsets, and circumstances is important if we are to free ourselves from the spiritual, mental, and emotional shackles that binds us today. Shackles that limit what we believe we can be, do, and have. Understanding the part post-traumatic slave syndrome plays on our evolution may be the key to help us set us on a path of well-being. Free our minds, and the rest will follow it. I had to hit that note. I felt that I had to hit that note. But Dr. Joy, she on it. She's on it. She's laying it out for us to understand. So we can have a better understanding. This is just another component for us to have a better understanding of what racism is, why it is, and how it affected us, and why it affected us, and how it is still affecting us to this day. So that was chapter 5, Slavery's Children. Chapter 5, Slavery's Children, go from page 140 to page 176. From page 140 to 176. So the last chapter, chapter 6, which is healing. As we're getting into healing, we got to change these mindsets. We got to get a new programming coming in, right? So chapter 6, healing, goes from page 178 to 210. So for the next video, read pages 178 to pages 210. But the children of slavery. How do we evolve from the children of slavery to the children of Black excellence, to the children of freedom, to the children who are without oppression? Our future depends on us. It does. Literally, figuratively, in any way you want to think about it. The future of Black people in America depends squarely on Black people today and the decisions that we make. Do we choose to fight against the programming to better our situations, or do we choose to allow the programming to fester even more and watch our communities and watch what we have left of neighborhoods and families be further degraded, further fall apart, and we fall further down the socioeconomic ladder to 5th and 6th and 7th class citizens, if that's even possible for us to fall. But nothing will change if we don't change it. Nobody is obligated, nobody cares to change our situation. It's up to us, and it's only us. At the beginning of the video, the young man said white people were gods. He has been trained to look at himself as the lowest thing, the lowest forms of human life because of the color of his skin. He has been taught that whiteness is the epitome of humanity. Matter of fact, whiteness is synonymous with godliness, and blackness is synonymous with dirt, with not even devilish, not even animalistic, lower than that. That's a problem. But that leads to how we destroy ourselves. Once we learn to see ourselves in a better light, which i.e. means changing our programming. Once we change our programming and learn to see ourselves in a better light, we can have less and less people, and we can eliminate the self-defeating ideas, mindsets, and behaviors that we have for ourselves, and begin to love our blackness for who and what we truly are. Love yourself, love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. I love you all. Happy Monday. Thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Make sure you interact with this video. Let's push this video to go. Thank you once again for everybody who has helped me get to 50,000 subscribers. We are pushing, we are moving, we're pushing, we're moving to get this channel to 100K. I'm trying to put my plaque in the back. I got to get my YouTube plaque in the back, but I need y'all help. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend about On the Shoulders of Giants, and look out for some things that I have coming in the future.